welcome in to the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up, and you get 2 risk-free bets for up to $2,000. My name is Mario Tirabassi, joined as always by Greg Boysen. Greg, it's a slow news day for the Chicago Blackhawks. I really don't know what we're going to talk about.
How are your NCAA brackets doing? We can talk about that for the next hour.
They're a pile of ash in my backyard right now. But anyways, yes, the big news of the day happening this afternoon: Chicago Blackhawks trading Brandon Hagel to the Tampa Bay Lightning for a 4-asset haul. Blackhawks sending Hagel and 2 fourth-round picks to the Lightning in exchange for 2 first-round picks from the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as 2 young players in Boris Kachuk and Taylor Radish. You see it there on your screen now. The full trade. The conditions on the first-round picks for the picks coming back to the Lightning, or to the Blackhawks from the Lightning, rather, they are top 10 protected. So if either of the 2023 or 2024 first-round picks for the Lightning end up to be in the top 10, they will then be subsequently the next year after, or the first year where they are unprotected, that first-round pick will go to the Blackhawks. So if it was 2023 in the top 10, it'll be 2025 that the Blackhawks will receive. But I don't think we have anything to worry about with that. So the Blackhawks, Kyle Davison, I mean, he put his cards on the table and said, I said this is a rebuild, and he meant it.
Yeah, it was a very definitive move, and that's what I want to see. I want to see the talk of a rebuild being backed up by action, and this was an action, all right. 2 first-round picks and 2 guys that are in the NHL right now for Brandon Hagel, who has 21 goals because he's shooting at 22.3% this year.
Pretty sustainable, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is a pretty damn good return for Brandon Hagel. A guy, a great story for him, and good for him. He's got a really good chance of winning a Stanley Cup this year. He's going to fit in very well down there. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of talk about what the Blackhawks are getting back, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. But before we get into that, congratulations to Brandon Hagel.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he's going to Tampa Bay. He's going to the best organization in hockey right now.
Back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions.
Absolutely.
You could argue that they may or may not be the Cup favorite, but I mean, I think this is the best chance for a three-peating team that we've seen in many years.
I mean, they still got the best goalie in the game, and they still got lots of stars, and now you get a guy like Brandon Hagel who can, maybe do some damage on that third line there, against. It's a great situation. I think it's one of those trades that we can look back on, and even today, immediate reaction, you look at it and go, man, both teams got exactly what they need. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of comparisons to the Blake Coleman acquisition,
and they did it. They did it again.
Yeah, Blake Coleman and Goodrow, and that's the kind of guy that this team needed. Mm-hmm. And now that's exactly what they got with Brandon Hagel. And you look at the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks got, 2 first-round draft picks. 2 first-round draft picks, not 1. Everybody a week ago said, man, if we get a first-round pick on a prospect for Brandon Hagel, I'd be happy. Well, we doubled that, and people are still upset.
Well,
I get it. I understand the emotional attachment to an up-and-coming young player, but, man, you couldn't have asked for a better return for Brandon Hagel. Mm-hmm. And, yes, they're going to be lower picks. They're probably going to be in the 20s, maybe even in the 30s. So what? Those are still first-round picks.
Having 2, we were talking about this earlier. Having 2 first-round picks, it's more capital where you can the Blackhawks could have in the 2023 draft the 10th overall pick and the 30th or 31st overall pick. Well, you could talk to the team at number 6 or number 5 and be like, hey, we'll give you 10 and 30 for the 5th pick. And teams are going to entertain that idea. So it's not just for the fact of having the 30th overall pick or 31st, 32nd, whatever it ends up being. It's being able to use that, weaponize it, as another trade piece if they wanted to do that.
More currency in your account.
Or at the very least, you get 2 picks in the top 30 of a draft class.
And when you're a rebuilding team, you need to have as many draft picks as possible because yes, all of your first round draft picks don't pan out. But when you have multiple picks each year, the chances of you starting to get some nice returns get better and better. And that's all you're looking for in a rebuild. That's all you're looking for in a rebuild is as many chances to make your team better as possible. And here we are. Great first trade for Kyle Davidson. And yes, we never advocate.
First major trade.
Right. Yes. First.
I feel like if you don't like this trade, you might not be on the ride.
You might not have hopped on the ride.
You got to get on the ride. You
got to hop on. This is a good starting spot to hop on this ride. This is showing that Kyle Davidson is aggressive. Kyle Davidson doesn't care about your feelings if he's going to trade away your favorite player. Doesn't care if he's going to upset his locker room per se, because he probably looks at this locker room and says, "You know what? None of these. I don't care if a veteran guy is upset about this. You're probably not going to be here when we're good anyway. So I got to do what's good for our long-term big picture." And this was that Tom Hanks movie. I am the captain now. This is what Kyle Davidson said today. I am the general manager. I am the GM.
Now. I'm controlling this team, and I'm building it the way I want it.
Good start. And again, as we've said many times, I like Brandon Hagel a lot. He's a really good player, but man,
we have to. We have the disclaimer. Right. We were not advocating for this to happen, but if it.
Right. My point all along was don't trade him just for the sake of trading. Right. Trade him for a really good return. This is a really good return.
Yeah. If they were going to get the return that was originally reported, you had to take that deal. And it, like you said earlier, it was better than the original return. You got multiple first round picks and you got 2 players who are cost controlled through the 2023-24 season.
Two guys, big players. Big forwards.
Size and
6'3", 6'4",
and 2 guys who have pretty decent skill sets. They've been able to produce at decent levels at the AHL in the AHL. And think there's like, oh well, they just started playing the NHL. They don't have a lot of points. They're not like they're not like Hagel, who's like 3rd on the team in scoring. But it's because they're on the Lightning. Right. Like it's such a stacked team that this is a Lightning organization that hasn't cared about their prospect system for a few years, and it's turned into a couple cups. I don't think they really care about Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk getting NHL minutes because they got plenty of guys to fill those roles. So those 2 guys are going to come to Chicago. They're going to get ice time right away, and who knows? Maybe they are able to get some more minutes, showcase some more of their talent. These are 2 guys that were 2 second-round picks in 2016. So there's obviously potential and talent there. More ice time gives them more opportunity to unlock it.
Perfect 2 guys to add to what the Blackhawks are going to be for the next couple of years. 2 guys that are right now borderline NHL players, but with the right situation could become everyday players, could become contributors. What better chance to give them a chance to, opportunity for them to prove that than what's going to happen here the last 6 weeks of the season.
Absolutely.
And you have them back for next year. And hey, if they're bad, they helped the Blackhawks get Connor Bedard next year to draft.
They could, yeah.
So it's you either get 2 NHL players or you get a really good shot at a number overall pick next year, or even the 2nd pick or the 3rd pick. The top 3 picks in next year's draft are all franchise type, the guys you need for a rebuild. So they accomplish maybe a couple of things.
Right.
So
it's definitely, you have to definitely have an eye beyond just the immediate, beyond next year. It's got to be 3, 4, 5 years down the road,
and that's where Davidson's looking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am all for it. 100% behind that.
Absolutely.
We are Stan Bowman. We're kind of rebuilding, but here's Seth Jones. We need to get younger. Here's Marc-Andre Fleury and Jake McCabe. Those days are over. They're gone. We have officially began the rebuild ride. It started with this trade right here. And you know what? It's going to be a lot of down. There's going to be a lot of dips, a lot of valleys, but eventually and hopefully it ends at the top of that NHL mountain.
There's a payoff. There's a payoff there, and that's
going to be painful.
The hope to get there.
It's going to be painful, but at the end, that pain will hopefully be worth it. And yes, losing a Brandon Hagel, it stinks. He's a good player. He's a fan favorite. I understand. He's a likable guy. I got to talk to him a few times during his time at Rockford. Always great with a quote. Good kid. Deserves all the success he's going to get in Tampa. If they win the cup this year and he gets to hold the cup, I'll be cheering for him.
I'll be very happy about that. Yeah.
So it's a great situation for everybody. He gets to go and play with the best organization, the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs, and the Blackhawks get to add to their barren cupboard to try this rebuild. It's a win-win situation for both teams. It's rare you can have a trade like this where you can look from both sides of the coin and say, yeah, that's pretty good. Because obviously Tampa, they don't care about their future draft picks right now. They're trying to win as many Stanley Cups as they can, and adding a Brandon Hagel for that depth scoring on a very talented team is going to go a long way.
And this isn't to say that, we're just tossing Hagel to the side. Like I was telling you earlier, when I saw the initial report that, Frank Saravalli put out there like, hey, Brandon Hagel's going to be on the move. And my initial reaction was like, oh, that sucks. Because he was a good player. He's a young player. Right. He looked like he was going to be a guy that was going to be around for the rebuild. Looked like he was going to be someone who's going to be, obviously likable in the city. You can see from the reaction from the Blackhawks fan base how quickly he became like a fan favorite. And for good measure. He's a good player. He's the kind of player that, good teams want to have. The problem being that Chicago's not going to be a good team. They're not a good team now. They're not going to be a good team next year. It might be a while before they're a good team again. So you don't want to waste these cost-controlled years that you have with Brandon Hagel with just bad teams, because when his deal is up, you're going to have a lot of decisions to make, and you don't want to add another tough decision on whether to extend him or whatever you have to do with him. So you capitalize on what he's doing right now, and you just maximize the return that you could get for him. So
I don't think Brandon Hagel's trade value was ever going to get higher than it is right now, and that's when aggressive GMs make those moves, when the value is at its highest. So again, stick tap to Kyle Davis for recognizing that and taking full advantage of it, and finding a team that reportedly had been interested in Hagel for a long time. Finding a team that really wanted him and was willing to pay a big price,
be aggressive,
and then pulling the trigger. This is the move that a confident general manager makes. And
I want to touch on that in a second here, because there's some more information to talk about the market that Hagel was in. So I definitely want to get to that. But I do want to get to this as well. Brandon Hagel, like I said, he endeared himself to Chicago, and it definitely was pretty evident that after the trade, he didn't necessarily, I don't think he wanted to leave Chicago, but he posted this on his Twitter account. Just want to thank the Blackhawks for a home for the last 3 years, as well as the fans that supported me. I made tons of friends, memories, and they treated me like the first-class organization they are. That being said, I can't wait to join the Tampa Bay Lightning. So yeah, obviously, it's tough seeing him go, but it's the right move, and it's, and the other good thing is that the Blackhawks don't have to worry about the 2022 first round with Tampa Bay. So if you want to make the Lightning your playoff team because you love Brandon Hagel and want to see him win a cup, cheer for that. Pull for the Lightning to do that, because it doesn't affect the first round picks that the Blackhawks got back from them. So if they want to go and three-peat, go and do that. But in 2023, 2024, you want to root for first round exits.
Right, or just missing the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then you kind of flirt with the lottery protection there,
man.
But
they could finish ninth place in the Eastern Conference, and that would put them like around 15th or 16th.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's
miss the playoffs.
You can see what happens,
but the playoffs by a point just to be sure.
I'm not saying go to PointsBet and pull up your app and say, oh, okay, Tampa Bay to miss the playoffs. No, I'm not recommending that.
I wouldn't make that bet either. No.
But Hagel's going to go to a good situation in Tampa. He's going to go to he's going to get away from Chicago winters for a while, and
that's Worst places you can play. No state income tax anymore.
Yeah.
So he's getting a raise, technically.
That's
he's
true.
getting a raise.
He's going to be able to keep more of that
more
1.5
of that
million.
game check every year. So good for him.
You think Hulk Hogan's going to be part of the welcoming party in Tampa?
You better be, brother.
Hey, Brandon. Welcome to Tampa, brother.
What you gonna do when the bagel runs
We're
wild
going to 3-peat
on
on you.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
But yeah, so you did mention about Brandon Hagel and having him be available and the trade market that could have been out there for him. Was just caught this before we went on air, the 32 Thoughts podcast with Jeff Merrick and Elliot Freeman. Freeman was talking about teams that may have been involved in on a Hagel trade. Obviously ended up with Tampa. But he was saying that Toronto was involved with talks with Hagel. Why wouldn't they be? But it was his report saying that, it might have been that Toronto or Chicago was asking Toronto for the same kind of return that Tampa ended up offering. And we talked about on yesterday's podcast how Toronto didn't want to give up their first round picks. So Chicago then was asking for top prospects like a Nick Robertson and a Matthew Nyes, and Toronto also didn't want to let go with that. So you end up going to Tampa.
Tampa's winning cups and Toronto's losing in the first round.
It shows, yeah. It shows you the kind of big boy pants you have to put on.
Scared GMs don't win Stanley Cups.
So it makes me wonder about Toronto's aggressiveness with maybe a Marc-Andre Fleury. If there was a trade there to happen, if they're not parting ways with first round picks and top prospects, I don't think it's going to happen at all.
Well, then, good luck driving home Kyle Dubas in Toronto because you're going to need a police escort if he doesn't make a big move. I saw a lot of Leafs fans on Twitter that were raging mad that it wasn't Toronto that got Brandon Hagel today. So I don't necessarily know if that, it's kind of apples and oranges. Are you willing to give up a prospect for that for a Brandon Hagel? Maybe. Okay. Obviously not for Toronto. But a Marc-Andre Fleury is a guy that puts you over the top. That's the weakest position you have right now. It's been your Achilles heel the last couple of playoff rounds. Now you're going to go into the playoffs with not a whole lot to be excited about in net. We've talked about Peter Mrazek. He hasn't been great. Jack Campbell was great for a while, and now he's kind of Jack Campbell, and it's like,
and he's dealing with an
injury.
Hurt.
Yeah, and then you've got a rookie that started off had a shutout, but
I mean. Yeah, it's you get the rookie luck going. I mean,
right.
Kevin Lankinen was pretty good last year.
I mean, it's not a Jordan Binnington situation with him in Toronto. So, Marc-Andre Fleury is a guy that makes Toronto right up in the conversation with Tampa Bay
contenders.
So
legitimate contenders.
I can understand not giving up that kind of package for a guy that's going to play on your second or third line. But you better be willing to give up that kind of package to get the guy that puts you over the top. And if you're not, as I said yesterday, you're a bad general manager. You're scared. And scared general managers, this is a starved franchise fandom that is dying for a Stanley Cup. And if you're worried about how good your team's going to be in 3 years, you care more about that team than a chance to win a Stanley Cup with a Hall of Fame goaltender? Well, enjoy your not so long career because it's not meant to last much longer. And
with a deal like this, like we mentioned it, Kyle Davidson really is sticking to his guns and saying like this. I said rebuild. This is going to be a rebuild. He's not acting as though he's scared of what the locker room is going to say, what the fan base is going to say. Really, probably not scared of what the organization says, because he's probably got to have a little bit of sign off on some of these things, but being able to come in and say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the plan, the blueprint. This is what it involves, moving a player like Brandon Hagel. If the Blackhawks brass believes in that, then they gotta follow it. And I think the ripple effect of a trade like this is pretty interesting because yes, you're building for the future. You're thinking 3, 4, 5 years down the road. You're looking to load up your prospect pool again, load up draft capital. But it does affect how other trades are going to work out, how other players perceive the organization. And I think, you look at a guy like Brandon Hagel, he was a likable player. He was clearly good with his teammates and everything. You think about a trade like this and what Kyle Davidson is signaling, like, hey, this isn't a wish-wash retool on the fly. This is a rebuild. We are going to move the valuable assets that need to be moved to build forward for the long term. You have to wonder what this kind of does for guys like Alex DeBrincat, guys like Patrick Kane, guys who are the superstars right now, but are they going to be the superstars when the team is contending again? Do they want to stick around through the next 3, 4, 5 years where it's going to be kind of sucky around here?
Yeah. It's a good question. Does a trade like today all of a sudden make Patrick Kane a little more willing to waive that no trade clause or ask to be traded to a specific team? We'll see. I don't think it's going to flip it on its head. No, he's not all of a sudden saying trade me by Monday. Mm-hmm. But come the off season, maybe something happens there. I obviously, if you're going to do the rebuild right, trading Patrick Kane's is your biggest goal here. I know people don't want to hear it, but if you're going to do this right, getting the haul that a Patrick Kane can bring you should be on the agenda. If he's willing for that trade, it all comes down to him or not.
Completely controls anything that happens with his career.
So if he says he's interested and he'd be willing to go to here, or here, then that's got to be your top priority this offseason is getting that done and getting the most back for it. DeBrincat, that's a tricky situation. He's still young enough to where 4 years from now, 5 years from now, he could still be an elite NHL player. Definitely has a more chance to do that, of being that in 4 years than Patrick Kane does. Mm-hmm. But again, DeBrincat's another guy. If somebody comes down the pike and offers you the farm and more for an Alex DeBrincat, you at least got to listen. You got to consider it. Mm-hmm. Nobody should be considered untouchable at this point. Not saying you should get on the phone and try and trade everybody, but you don't dismiss any kind of offer that you get over the next few months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. You got to explore all avenues. And if trading Alex DeBrincat makes you better in 3 or 4 seasons than keeping him here, then you do it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think, trading Hagel, I don't think that was something that was really shopped all that much by the Blackhawks. I think it just became known that, hey, we're open for business. What are you willing to offer for whoever's on our roster?
Yeah, I don't imagine Davidson was calling everybody saying, hey, I got Brandon Hagel, what will you give me?
Right.
It was more of Tampa and apparently Toronto reaching out to the Hawks, mm-hmm. and then him making the best of that situation.
Right. And we've seen that with other, with a Patrick Kane as well. We've seen reports that Colorado was trying to, gauge the interest on, potentially moving Patrick Kane. I don't think that that's something that's going to happen at this trade deadline, but that is something that has to be considered on the table. Whether he ends up agreeing to it or not is another thing. But I think, clearly signaling, hey, this rebuild is happening. It's gonna come with some very difficult situations. It could change the mindset of some of these players about if they want to, stick around for the long term. I think, Patrick Kane, his legacy is already cemented in the city. Like there's really nothing else for him to prove or to achieve to solidify that status anymore. He's done everything. It's up to if he wants to stick around and just do more. I don't know if that includes winning a Stanley Cup. So I think if he's on the table, if DeBrincat's on the table, I think it's got to be things that you consider and that Kyle Davidson has to consider. And I'm not surprised if he is considering it, given the fact that You see the return for a guy like Brandon Hagel, who's a second or third line winger who gives you some versatility, can play on the penalty kill, play on the power play, and you're getting 2 NHL-ready young players and 2 first-round picks for him. I mean, you got to imagine a DeBrincat trade or a Kane trade is going to get you that and way more. Like you might be able to get multiple.
You could shed a year off the rebuild process of what you can get
with one or 2 of those kinds of trades. Yeah, exactly.
You can make this if you can make this going from a 5-year process to a 4-year process, 3-year process by those kinds of returns. And these are the tough decisions you got to make. And I don't envy Kyle Davidson for having to make some of these decisions, but he proved today that he is willing to make unpopular decisions for the better of this franchise. And the Blackhawks are not a better team today with Brandon Hagel and Tampa Bay, but they could be a much better team in 3 years from what they got from this deal than just having Brandon Hagel. We have to trust the process. We have to hop on the ride, and we have to see where it takes us. We cannot get upset over what trades are going to be made over the next few days. Those are just peeling the skin of the onion. Those are just the first steps. There's a long way to go. So we can't judge the Kyle Davidson era just by what happens between now and 2 p.m. on Monday. And that's probably maybe a good segue to talk about our show on Monday.
Yeah, so Monday's the trade deadline show. That's going to be a big day. We are actually going to be live on Monday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So we will get the final hour of the trade deadline. We will get the end of the trade deadline, and we'll get that wacky period after the trade deadline where some of those transactions kind of trickle through over the last hour. But we'll be able to break down what's going on with the Blackhawks. We'll react to a couple of things that I'm sure will be going on around the league throughout Monday. So yeah, it's gonna be a big show, and
it's gonna be a supersized show.
It's gonna be a supersized
2
show.
hours, but there's gonna be 3 chairs, and there's gonna be 3 chairs going forward.
We are going
super exciting.
We are going to get out of Studio B. Yes. They're gonna let us
love
out
it in here,
or they're gonna let us out of the little studio and get into Studio A where there's 3 chairs. Because if you've been paying attention to the YouTube chat recently, if you've been paying attention to Twitter today, big news from our friend Jay Zawoski. He is going to be starting on Monday with the trade deadline show with us. He will be full-time with us here at CHGO. Originally, he was going to be kind of a part-time basis, but he's coming on full-time. He's going to be on the podcast all the time. He's going to be... you're gonna hear him not just 2 times a week. You're gonna hear him 5 times a week on this show. He made the decision to leave a job that he had for 21, 22 years to come here and talk Blackhawks with us, which is a tremendous honor. And we're super excited to get Jay back in. And I could talk for days about how excited I am to get Jay in and get rolling. And yeah, I think this is the the group that we were expecting to have when we started up with CHGO, and things happen. We've talked about it on the podcast, but now we're kind of letting the dust settle, and Jay's going to be here, so we're very excited about that.
When I was first approached about coming here and hearing that Jay was on board, that was one of the biggest reasons I pulled the trigger on this. And as we said originally, he was just going to be part-time. Crazy things happen. There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that it's neither of our business to disclose here on the air. But bottom line is, Jay is now going to be full-time with us right here for every show. It's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it. We get one of the, we have a scoring line now. We have a top line here at CHGO. We're bringing in the big guns. It's like getting our own big trade deadline.
It's our own acquisition.
We just got our own, Patrick Kane trade as far as I'm concerned, and can't wait. It's going to be great. And the trio will debut full time Monday, 1 p.m., 2 full hours of trade deadline talk. Hopefully, we'll have a lot to talk about, not just with the Hawks, but we'll go all around the league and see all kinds. It's going to be fun. So Monday at 1 p.m. Jay will be here, his first full-time show, and then from there on out, it's going to be the 3 of us. So we're going to have a lot of exciting stuff coming on where our post-game shows, there'll be two of us here in the studio, and either you or I, one of us, will be at the home games right there at the stadium. So it's evolving, and we appreciate you guys these first couple weeks. I know you dedicated Madhouse podcast listeners. It's not exactly what you were expecting to hear. It's not what we were expecting to do these first couple weeks, but now things are falling into place, and we're ready to go forward and bring you guys, unbeatable Blackhawks coverage from here on out.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And Monday's show, like we said, from 1 to 3 Central Time. So we'll cover the end of the trade deadline live. But throughout the day, we're gonna be here, the three of us, reacting to what's going on. We're gonna get in early. We're gonna have our coffee. We're gonna have multiple computers and cell phones, and
our own little war room. We'll be between the three of us. You won't miss a thing.
Yeah, and so you keep an eye on the CHGO Blackhawks social media channel at CHGO_Blackhawks. We'll be if something big happens before the show, we'll go live and talk about it a little bit and give you some reactions. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Monday. Once we get through this weekend with Chicago in Minnesota tomorrow afternoon, and then back home Sunday night here. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we'll definitely, it'll be a full crew. And yeah, I know we've said it before, but super excited to have Jay on. So that's gonna be a big deal on Monday. Best way to support CHGO and the return of Jay Zawoski to the CHGO Blackhawks podcast is to download the PointsBet app. When you do that, use the promo code CHGO when you sign up, and you will get 2 risk-free bets for up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt, all from the CHGO locker, and all for making just a $50 first-time deposit with PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll be happy to help. And introducing PointsBet's new feature that they're very excited about, and perfect timing, it's live college basketball same-game parlays. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois, so you can download the PointsBet app and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. Plus, during PointsBet Match Madness, all users can earn up to $100 in free bets. During each round, just place a $50 pregame wager and get a free $20 live bet to be used for that round. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. So we do have some games to talk about coming up this weekend. It's not just the Hagel trade show. It's not just the Jay's back show. We got some looking ahead to do. You were at practice today. You were with Derek King for the media availability. Looking like he's going to go with Alex Vlasic actually in the lineup for tomorrow afternoon, making his NHL debut. I know on yesterday he was a little wishy-washy about him playing this weekend, but it looks like he will be in the lineup. And it looks like it's going to be 11 forwards, 7 defensemen again.
That's definitely what he said. He pretty much said Vlasic will play in Minnesota tomorrow, make his NHL debut. And he said he just has to decide which forward comes out of the lineup. And then he kind of sheepishly said that sometimes these things have a way of working out. So maybe he knew a little something was going on. But now he has 2 extra forwards coming too,
Right, that'll be interesting to see if they get thrown right into the lineup.
So maybe he doesn't do the 7 now. Things maybe have changed, but it looks like he's going to do the 7D. And there was actually a moment midway through practice. Derek King skated up to Vlasic at center ice and talked to him for a couple minutes, and then Vlasic got this huge smile on his face and he skated away. And Kinger said in the media scrum that he said that was when he told him, and in typical Derek King fashion said, I told him, he's going to play tomorrow, but don't worry, don't screw it up. There's only going to be millions of people watching, and then I skated away. So that's a typical Derek King move. But he had mentioned, the names Borgstrom, Kurashev. Those are two guys he was thinking would sit for the seventh defenseman. And I get going with 7D. With a young guy in case, there's a struggling or teaching moment, you don't have to play him as much. But now that you got two more forwards coming, you lose a forward in Hagel, but you got two more coming, maybe that changes. But Vlasic is going to play tomorrow in Minnesota, so that's something fun to watch for. Maybe 3 new faces in the lineup tomorrow afternoon. We'll see how that looks. There's no morning skate tomorrow. So, we'll be surprised. We'll get surprised who we get to see. And the 1 o'clock start, so obviously they're not going to get on the ice at 7 in the morning or anything like that. So, Vlasic, he looks, he's big. I mean, it's 2 days of practice. It's hard to really say much just watching him do drills. But there is 2 things that stood out to him. I purposely was focused on him during today's practice. First thing that sticks out to me for a big kid, 6'6", 200 pounds, he's obviously got to fill out a little bit, but he skates really well for a big kid. Usually sometimes you see these big guys, they kind of awkward and try to take too big of strides, but he's a really good skater for a guy of his size, and his reach is a weapon. That is, he's going to be able to break up a lot of plays just by getting that stick out. So those are 2 things to look forward to in his NHL debut.
Yeah, and what else will be nice tomorrow is that you get Kevin Lankinen in net, something that, he's been so inconsistent with his playing time. And you get him against a team in Minnesota that is, in a playoff spot and looking to build some momentum. So it's going to be a good test for Lankinen to really get into the net and show what he can do, because this is a team, the Blackhawks, with a goalie situation where they got to figure out what they're doing with Kevin Lankinen, with Marc-Andre Fleury. So this is a good opportunity for him to get into the lineup as well, get in between the pipes and have a test. And it's something that, consistency in his playing time and in his consistency in his performances hasn't been there. So it'll be good to get him some action, and then Marc-Andre Fleury will play on Sunday if he's still around.
That'd be interesting to see. Derek King was asked if there has been any discussions about asset protection, and he said no. But he also said, if we come home Sunday and I'm told not to play Marc-Andre Fleury, then I won't. And he says Lankinen will get back-to-back starts, which is not a bad thing for him either.
No, not at all, especially with the game being able to be in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's an afternoon, and it's a 45-minute flight home. It's not like it's, it's you'll literally have 24 hours, over 24 hours from the end of one game to the start of the next one. So
for recovery,
yeah, and he should be fresh. He's barely played this year.
Yeah, so it's so it'll be good for him to get in, and yeah, I'm excited to see what Alex Vlasic can do with the 7 defenseman rotation. Like you said, you're not looking to throw him in there and play, 18, 20 minutes or anything like that. But you get him in, you get him rotated and get him some ice time. He looks like he's, going to be able to stick with the physicality of the game. I think that's something that is important for a young defenseman, to be able to kind of adjust to that. Whether he can adjust to the speed of the game is going to be something to keep an eye on, because he's a big kid. He can skate well for his size and his age, but there's a difference between being able to do that at the college level and being able to do that as a professional.
That's always, anytime you talk to a young kid moving up from one level to the next, be it college to AHL to NHL, they always say it's that speed from level to level. That's the hardest adjustment to make. I think he'll be fine with the size, and it's a good team to get tested against if he can handle the physicality. I mean, you got guys like Ryan Hartman, Jordan Greenway. They've got some grinders down up there in Minnesota, so he's going to get tested right off the bat.
Marcus Foligno.
Yeah, I mean, they got Duheim is another guy that likes to play physical.
Yep.
So you can guarantee that those guys are going to target him right off the bat.
They're going to know
what he's made of. So it's a good first test against. It'll be interesting to see if he plays against Winnipeg on Sunday and how long he's here. I would imagine at some point it's kind of like, let's give him a taste and then let's get him down to play some big minutes down at Rockford.
Well, here's the thing with that is and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand it is that if he was going to be able to play in Rockford, he would have had to have an amateur tryout deal because he's not at the age. The age requirement is not. Is he 20? I don't know. Not correct because he's 20.
And you can play at 20.
Is he in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Under 20, you can't play.
Okay, because I know that there was some confusion whether he'd be eligible or not. But
he should be fine. And yeah, I think he should be fine because also he was. I don't know if that affects college kids or if that's just
junior.
I think it's just a junior league because they've had European players under 20.
Right.
So I think that's an agreement with the CHL. I don't know if that really affects the NCAA. Players.
Okay.
So I don't think that's an issue. Plus, he's 20. I think once you're 20, you're fine. Okay. I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times, and I'll be wrong many times again. But
if getting him to Rockford is a possibility, I think that we'll see that happen.
Yeah, and give one of those guys that have been a warrior for you down there a reward to play up here. But another interesting thing King said today is because somebody said, hey. I think it was Philip Thompson that asked if a guy like a Dominic Kubalik or Brandon Hagel gets traded, is this the time you bring a Lucas Reichel up and let him go? And he kind of said, hey, they're fighting for a playoff spot, and I think it's important for all those guys and the organization as a whole for Rockford to get into the playoffs and get some of that experience. So it doesn't sound like they're ready to be like, okay, we're trading everybody. Let's get all of the best players from Rockford.
Pluck them all up. Yeah.
I think they're investing into the Ice Hogs making the playoffs, which would be great on a whole lot on many different levels for that organization, and pretty good for us to have something to talk about in May.
Right,
that deals with the Blackhawks.
A little bit of playoff hockey for some of the prospects.
I would love to go. We could take a road trip out to the BMO and see our buddy Joey Z, catch a game, talk to some guys down there, and report back. Yeah,
would love to see that. And yeah, I mean. I agree. It's more important for some of those young players to play in important games, to play, 18, 20 minutes, 20, for the defenseman more than 20 minutes, in games that matter, that have, a playoff like atmosphere that, even in a playoff push, those games matter more than getting 10 minutes or 12 minutes or 15, whatever at the NHL level on a team that's not competitive. Right. I think it makes more sense to have those players develop, but you do have to roll through some of those players and see what they can do at the NHL level, but not sacrifice, the significant development time that they can have at the AHL level as well. So it would be interesting to see. We'll keep an eye on the Ice Hogs down there, and I think with Vlasic and with the young core of defensemen that the Blackhawks can roll through, I think we'll see a number of guys kind of get that late season, kind of last look, going into next season and seeing who might stick around. So it'll be fun to see that.
Yeah, for sure. I hope the Ice Hogs make it the postseason. It'll be good for a lot of reasons.
And they have a lot of they have an opportunity to do it with 23 of teams getting into the postseason. We talked about that on the last podcast with just how screwy the AHL playoffs got. But yeah, so that'll be good to see if Rockford can hold on to that position and get into the postseason. We enjoy the Ice Hogs. We grew with the Ice Hogs in our writing and media careers. And if you enjoy CHGO Sports and all of the terrific content that we've been able to bring you with the Blackhawks or the White Sox or the Bears, Cubs, whatever it is, one way to help us continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app and use the code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets for up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is now available in Illinois. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. So on yesterday's podcast,
Hold on. The joy of being live is you can share breaking news. Nothing too exciting, but
what do we got
Blackhawks
here?
just set out a release that both Tyler Johnson and Connor Murphy have been placed on injured reserve, both retroactive to March 12th, concussion.
Okay.
So that will give them maybe make up a couple calls. Maybe we'll see somebody come up or.
Well, they have to get Kachuk and Radish onto the lineup.
See, I already forgot about that. Shit on me. So yeah,
so yeah,
that's how they're getting them on there.
Official distinctions to get those guys on injured reserve.
Johnson and Murphy, neither of who have practiced. We saw Johnson skate a little on his own yesterday. I didn't see him today, but yeah, Tyler Johnson, Connor Murphy officially on injured reserve. But okay, now we can go on.
Now setting up the segue that I did have planned. But yeah, yesterday on the podcast, we revealed the first two brackets of the March Madhouse Madness bracket of the NHL or of the Blackhawks greats in NHL history. We've put those out on Twitter. We've seen a lot of votes so far. It's been really fun to see the reaction to the poll that Greg worked on. So we're gonna reveal now the next two regions of the March Madhouse Madness bracket. So Greg, take it away.
All right, we have our Madhouse region, and you can head to our Twitter, CHGO_Blackhawks, and start voting. These regions will go up shortly after the show, but you can vote on our other two regions. Yesterday it was the 300 level region and the Detroit Sucks region.
Yes.
So let's see what we got for our Madhouse region. We see our picture there. That's our number one seed, Jonathan Taves. He gets to take on Moose Vasco, round one. Great name, Moose. I don't like your longevity for this tournament.
Chances.
No. 8-9 matchup. We got Alex Zamnoff versus Eddie Olczyk. That's a good one. That is a tough one. I think Edzo's going to get put over the top just for his popularity as with his announcing over the past decade plus. But that's a good one when you're talking about the actual playing careers.
Yes.
Number 4. This has got upset written all over it. The Hall of Famer Pierre Pilote versus fan favorite Bob Probert at the 13 seed. Interesting to see how that
we talked about it yesterday. There were a lot of great matchups with upset potential. This bracket already, 2 of the 3 have great matchups and great upset potential. I'm loving how this is shaking out so far.
And our 5-12 Marian Hossa versus Michel Goulet. That's a tough one for me because I love both of those players. I mean, I know the correct answer here.
Yes.
And it's just based on your Blackhawks career. It has nothing to do with Goulet's overall career. But there's our 5-12 matchup. Hossa versus Goulet. 3 seed Steve Larmer versus the 14 seed Gary Suter, former teammates going head to head.
Not bad.
Yeah, Larmer, you know what? Larmer's going all the way through for me. We know how I feel about Steve Larmer. 6 seed Corey Crawford, goaltender of this region, taking on Pat Stapleton. Man, that should be. I think Corey's getting through pretty easy.
Corey Crawford, I think, has got some pretty good upset potential throughout this entire region.
Crawford Larmer, that could be a real tough second. That's going
to be an interesting matchup. I do think Corey has a very loyal fan base still in Chicago that would love to see him maybe get one of those one last shifts or a legacy night. It's very interesting that he hasn't been involved in any of those yet.
I don't know. We'll see.
He'll get the love in this poll, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Then we have a 7, former captain Dirk Graham, one of my favorite Hawks of all time, versus Jim Pappin, the 10 seed. And we wrap it out with our 2-15 matchup. Tony Esposito versus Joe Murphy. We got two of the 4 greatest goaltenders in franchise history in the same bracket.
That's going to be good.
That could be a really interesting Elite 8 matchup.
Yeah.
Or that's Sweet 16 matchup.
I do like these matchups. I do think, I mean, you look at Taves, Hossa, Larmer, Crawford, Esposito. Like there's a lot of tough decisions with some of the top seeds in this bracket. And yeah, I think even like an Eddie Olczyk could make a run just because of not only of his time with the Blackhawks as a player, but the way that he was able to bring in another generation of fans as a voice for the Blackhawks.
If this was a bracket that you can bet on PointsBet, there would definitely be money flying all over this region.
Yes.
All right,
Love this.
We got one last one. It's the Cheering the Anthem region, the yellow bracket. And we'll stick with the trend. Our picture there, of course, is the number 1 seed, the Golden Jet, Bobby Hull, versus 16 seed Grant Mulvey. I think our number 1 seeds have a pretty good, easy path to the next round. Then we got 8 seeds, two old timers there, Eric Nestorenko and Cliff Coral.
We talked about it in yesterday's reveal, how some of the fans of the newer generation of the Blackhawks might not know some of these guys, but it's a great opportunity to kind of do a little self-history lesson.
Yep, learn a little history, figure out who you like. 413, Tony Amante versus Mush March. That's one of my favorite hockey names of all time, Mush March. But I think he's not going to last very long.
No, Tony Amante, one of the underrated players in Blackhawks history, just because he was such a good player at such a bad time for the Blackhawks. So it'll be interesting to see what the fan base feels of Tony there.
And we have our 512, Eric Daze versus Jocelyn Thibault. That's one for the fans of our 2000s Blackhawks.
That's a dark ages fan base poll right there.
Yeah, that could be a good one. Then we have number 3, Doug Wilson versus 14, Dave Manson. A couple of defensemen going head to head.
Like it.
I think Doug Wilson, the greatest hair in hockey history. I think he gets a first round victory here. Then we have 6, Nicholas Jarmelson versus number 11, Steve Sullivan. Steve Sullivan, very underrated Blackhawk. Great player on some bad teams.
Yep.
Of course, I think we know where this one's going to end up.
Jalmerson, also underrated, but a great player on great teams.
Exactly. Then we have our 7-10 matchup. Interesting one here. Keith Magnuson, speaking of fan favorites, versus Alex DeBrincat as a 10 seed. Now, I know Alex DeBrincat would be a number 1 seed if we were talking about players from just this past decade.
Modern age, yeah.
But this is longevity here, so that's why he's low. Plus, I like to see some chaos. Let's see how far DeBrincat could get from that 10 seed.
That's very interesting, yeah.
And then finally, we have the 2 seed, Chris Chelios versus 15, Dave Bolin. Man, that's a tough 2-15.
That's so interesting of a matchup, because so many people I can't think of a Blackhawks fan that is just like, Dave Bolin. The love for Dave Bolin in the city still in the fan base is very
you might get
very dedicated
there, and there's still a lot of Blackhawk fans that have never forgiven Chris Chelios
so
for
much
playing
saltiness around Chelios.
So Bolin could be getting a huge uptick in votes from that segment of the fan base that was just like, Chelios played for the Red Wings. Screw that guy. I'm voting for the Rat, my friend.
Yeah, I think of all the 2-15 matchups, I think that's the one that has got the biggest upset potential. I know
probably be the closest of them.
Yeah, I know that we had a Duncan Keith, Brandon Saad matchup. I do think Brandon Saad still holds a lot of love in the city, but not more than Duncan Keith. But yeah, Chelios and Bolin, that's going to be very interesting. That might be the biggest upset of the entire tournament. So
a huge one.
Yeah, so we got the first two brackets are up right now. The 300 level bracket and the region, and the Detroit Sucks region. We'll have the Madhouse region go up and the Cheer the Anthem region go up following today's show. And those will be open through the weekend.
And then we'll have some fun with it next week. We'll reveal our winners. We got a busy week ahead with the trade deadline and then back-to-back late-night games. So we'll have some fun with it. You can obviously see who the winners are by checking out the polls, but we'll announce the next round matchups here on our next off-day show that doesn't involve, hopefully, 7 or 8 trades.
Yeah, well, once we get past Monday, it's gonna be quiet. It'll be just focusing on games and focusing. Well, we'll have some fun with the bracket, and then we'll be talking a lot about probably some games that don't matter, some results that don't matter, but it'll be a lot of individual discussions about which players are looking good, which players are going to be around, and talking about how we set things up.
We'll know who's here for the rest of the season, and we can focus on the good and the bad that those players are bringing on a nightly basis.
And Jay will be on board, so we'll have a third third guy in to bounce some ideas off of, and maybe we'll get some food and some music takes as well.
I hope so. I'm dangerous in both of those categories.
And speaking of food,
You're the king of the segues today.
The CHGO Blackhawks podcast, we talk about PointsBet a lot, but we are also brought to you by Athletic Greens. They've come on recently as a sponsor, and they have a product that they are very proud of, their AG1 formula. It is a supplement designed to improve your gut health, optimize your immune system, and just give you more natural energy. 1 scoop of AG1 and you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. And it fits in with a lot of different lifestyle diets, whether it's gluten-free, keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, whatever it is, with AG1, you're good to go. It's really easy to incorporate into your life no matter how busy you might be. It's a small, once-a-day habit with big benefits. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks, and take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I've tried some of the AG1. It is doing well for me. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling more energized. I know I pull the curtains back. I do not live in the city of Chicago. I used to, but I do not live in the city of Chicago. So I do have a commute when I come into work, and sometimes it can be a slog. Today it was quite the drive with the weather and making the travel a little bit more difficult. But I'm feeling physically better, so it makes those drives a little bit better. Getting up in the morning, I have a little bit more kick right out of bed. So it's been doing really well for me. It's making me feel pretty energized. And I used to, I was someone who was on the multivitamins. And it was just like, I honestly have been getting sick of taking like 5, 6, 7 pills just to feel like I'm having like good health. So with AG1, it's just really easy. Put it in the water, shake it up. There you go.
One scoop shopping.
One scoop.
Yeah.
1 scoop shopping. That's all you need to do for your health there. So Athletic Greens, it's been great. I'm glad that they're on board, and looking forward to getting more of that AG1 and get more of that energy, keeping that up. What's also giving me energy is what the Blackhawks are doing. I was at the beginning very skeptical of the rebuild. I was very skeptical of Kyle Davidson having, ties to the Stan Bowman era, being around for so long. With the fact that they were bringing back Norm McIver. We talked about it a few weeks ago about, is what's really actually changing. And I think today we got one major statement of, hey, things are going to change. We're not going to just hold on to these guys because people like them. We're going to make the moves necessary to drive forward with purpose the organization for the next 3, 4, 5 years to build up to being back to where they were in the 2010s and being able to not only compete for the postseason, but be a dangerous team in the postseason, be a cup contender in the post. Like remember those days? That was a lot of fun. We need to go through a little bit of difficulty to get back to those days and get back to having a lot of fun Blackhawks hockey to talk about. So I'm energized by what's going on with Kyle Davidson. I think I'm energized with what's going on with the Blackhawks. I'm looking forward to the future. I've hopped on the ride, and today's trade of Brandon Hagel, the return that they got, it gives me a lot of optimism that Kyle Davidson is really going to stick to the plan and be aggressive. And I think that's what we were hoping for with a new GM coming in. We wanted a GM to come in and kind of shake things up. And, you know, a lot of people wanted Matthew Darsh or Eric Tulsky or just get a different mindset into that position. And I think even though Kyle Davidson's been around for a while, he's kind of bringing a different mindset that the Blackhawks haven't had for a long time at the general manager position.
For sure, and it's a good first step. This is like it's like that scene from the classic Major League. Kyle Davidson announced his presence with authority today, and that's all you can ask for. You know, you may not like that Brandon Hagel is now a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's fine. That's great. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to be happy that we have a GM that has a vision, has a plan, and is going to stick to it and is going to be aggressive to achieve it. That's all you could ask for. And if it fails, at least you knew that, like, hey, he didn't do this wishy-washy in the middle of the road stuff that we've been used to for the last 3 or 4 years.
I would rather have them say that they're going to rebuild, be aggressive in a rebuild, and if it doesn't work out, you say, well, you know what? You tried it. I'd rather that than just sit in mediocrity and be like, we're gonna kind of not commit to a plan one way or the other, and you're just gonna sit through, you know, a 35 win season, and it's like, well, what the hell was that for?
Being a wild card team every year and getting knocked out in 5 games in the first round every season isn't a whole lot of fun either.
No.
So, you know, be bad for a couple of years, be really bad for a couple of years, and then get really good again.
Purpose, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and
it'd be worth it.
I feel like it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck for a few seasons. It's gonna be tough. We're going to see some players that you're not gonna care about as much as you cared about with as much as fans cared about with Brandon Hagel. There's gonna be some players that come through on 1-year deals, like we saw 2 seasons ago. You know, Matthias Janmark came in, and it was like, wow, he might be a pretty good player. And he came in on a 1-year deal with the intention of being flipped at the trade deadline, and the Blackhawks did that. Carl Soderberg came in. He might be okay. He came in on a 1-year deal, intention to be flipped, and he did that. We're going to see more players like that in the next few seasons.
That's how you build your draft capital. That's how you build your AHL system, by doing those types of play. And that Janmark trade worked out pretty well for the Hawks. What they get? They got a 2nd-round pick for him.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, I mean, hey, couple more of those, one of those every season, and you know, you're in the right. You're moving in the right direction. They have a direction picked out, and they've taken their first giant step in that direction. So that's all you could ask for. That's all you can ask for.
All you can ask for. Hop on the ride.
Hop on the ride.
So that'll do it for this edition of the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. A big day for the Blackhawks and for the podcast. If you may have missed it, if you're just catching us late here on the YouTube channel, we'll reiterate the big news regarding the podcast is that Jay Zawoski is coming on full time. He will be on each podcast. You're going to hear him way more than you ever did, and we're very excited to have Jay coming on to the to CHGO full time. So that's very exciting. So 2 games this weekend, trade deadline on Monday, big trade deadline show on Monday as well. That'll be Jay, Greg, and myself from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Central Time. We'll cover the last hour of the trade deadline. We'll react whatever's happening with the Blackhawks and with the league live. 2-hour show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Blackhawks in Minnesota on tomorrow, and at home against Winnipeg on Sunday. So yeah, that'll do it for Greg Boysen. I'm Mario Tirabassi. We will see you next time.